Okay, hi everybody. Wow, I had to come to share something really, really big and really, really wonderful with you. You know how we're all groping for the solution. What is the solution to this New World Order madness? I have stumbled upon it. Ask and ye shall receive, as they say. Wow, okay. I know some of you have probably heard a little something about the free man movement or free man on the land movement. I had, actually I think over the past months, at least maybe 6 months, I just sort of heard little sprinklings of it, but I finally dug in and really took a look at this starting a couple weeks ago. And this is huge. This is the solution. So I'm just going to give the little bit that I know about it and hopefully whet your appetite so you guys go and do the research, because there's quite a bit of material out there now for us to research, and you're going to see how incredibly powerful this is. Let's see. First we have to understand the nature of the matrix that we're trapped in. Okay, so let's say you're living in the United States or Canada. Okay, the United States and Canada are corporations, and when we're born, your parents go and get you a birth certificate, right? Well, this birth certificate, we're literally born into bondage, okay? Because what they do with your birth certificate is they issue a bond. The government issues a bond on your birth certificate. And this bond, you can actually look it up with the number on the back of your Social Security on your Social Security card. Apparently, you can look up your actual bond and see it being traded. So, this is really for real. And they use this bond as the collateral to, basically, you're the collateral on the loan. When they go out and get a loan from the IMF, the World Bank, we're the collateral. They see us as property. And how did this happen? Go check out Johnny Liberty. He's got an old talk from 1995. You'd swear it was from yesterday, the way he talks about the FEMA concentration camps. 1995, this man's talking about this. And the whole New World Order, the whole everything, the whole economic system. This man's brilliant. Excuse me. He lays it out, the whole history of it, how we got to where we are. Because before, in America, right, each of the people were the sovereign, meaning the boss. The government was never the boss. Well, somehow they slipped it in and they flipped it around on us slowly, the boiled frog kind of thing. And so when we do things like go register your child for, with a birth certificate, you are essentially saying to the government, I see you as the boss because I feel somehow some sort of a need to come to you and tell you that I have a child. I must report to you that I have this child or register my child with you. And this gets us in a sticky situation. First of all, we're the collateral for the debt. So they see us as slaves, and they're treating us as slaves, okay? It was, this thing just snuck up on us. But they literally, this is why Child Protective Service or whatever, they have so much power over taking kids, because they literally see them as their property. And an interesting story, Mary Croft, there's a great interview with her, Red Eyes did. Go check that one out. Oh man, the way she dances over the system, she's a firecracker. Listen to her. Also, she has a book online, a PDF book. Read her book. Anyway, Mary Croft, spelled with a C, and she gives a quick story of a man. He had 5 children. All four, first 4 were born in hospital. The last one born at home. So the last one didn't have a birth certificate. And one day he was in the store yelling at his children, and some woman, a nice, bystander, she hears this, calls the police. Child abuse, wonderful. Next day, the police come, take all 5 of his children. The next day after that, they bring the youngest one back and say, he's not ours, knowing they had absolutely no legal jurisdiction over that last child because he was not registered with them. This is how serious it is. In fact, the word register comes from regal, meaning property of the Queen of England, okay? The United States is a corporation owned by, I don't know who it's owned by exactly, but I think it's under the UK, under the Queen. Same with Canada. So you got to break out and understand this. This is a massive paradigm shift that we need to all undergo. So there are ways to file papers to reclaim your registration of either your children, your car, because when you go register your car, guess what? You've just given the title over to you hold the title, but you don't hold, no, what, you hold the deed, but they actually hold the title, something to that effect. It's basically their property. And all the property, all the land, all the people, if you're a U.S. citizen, yeah, Johnny Liberty will explain that to you. U.S. citizen, you're basically a slave. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen. You can be an American national, or you can be a citizen of a state. There are different ways to go about this. So there are people that have been digging in and figuring out, okay, what are the papers that we can file to reclaim our sovereignty, reclaim our freedom? Okay, and in fact, when I was in Sarasota, I worked with a man very, very briefly, and he was saying that the income tax is illegal, right? And he was getting people's income tax from the last 3 years, because the statute of limitations is 3 years. He was getting their money back, and so I was working with him a little bit. But the only thing was he didn't carry the client all the way through, and then they were kind of left feeling afraid that the IRS was going to come back and bite them, and I just didn't like that because it was like this whole sort of fear thing for them, and I thought, that kind of negates the whole purpose of this. This is about freedom, not fear. But anyway, I mean, he would file certain papers, and the IRS would send back the last 3 years of the income tax money with an apology letter. So I know this is real. I've seen this with my own eyes. But here's how the TV does it. In fact, there was a news story on it. There was a Tampa man. He was an accountant, middle-class accountant, like calculator in the top pocket. They're interviewing him, and he's saying, yeah, this is for real. I just got my last 3 years back. And, right, so when people are watching this, right, because they always got to tell you the truth, but then they put the spin on it, the mind control, right? So people are watching this, and I'm sure they're all like, of course, their mind is like, oh my gosh, I got to file these papers. I want my last 3 years' income tax back, and I don't want to ever file ever again, right? So that's what everybody's brain is saying. But then afterwards, they flip over to the anchor man, the anchor woman sitting at the desk, and then they make their little joke. They're like, yeah, right. Okay, they're going to be coming after him. Yeah, right? So then what does that do to everybody's brain? Then they just go right back to sleep. Yeah? I mean, I don't think these people are called anchor men and anchor women for nothing. If you know anything about NLP and anchor, neuro-linguistic programming and anchoring. Anyway, so that's why I think this has not grown as quickly as it should. Okay, the other information. Mary Croft, she's got her book. Page 8, she'll tell you how to keep your house. They come to foreclose on your house. There's 3 things you ask the bank for. They cannot produce it. They cannot take your house, okay? Winston Shrout, go check out his videos. He's got some videos on VO. There was a seminar that he did, and I'm sure people paid a pretty penny to go to that seminar, but it's for free for us up on VO. I would go check that out. I will caution you, I think that there is something that we need to pay attention to on this, and that is, I think, Winston Shrout, in fact, he even mentions it right in the beginning of his seminar. He says, look, this Social Security number is not the mark of the beast. I'm not so sure that it's not, because what some people are doing, you'll see Mary Croft, I mean, she doesn't pay for anything, because what's happened is when you're born, they set up this prepaid account in the Treasury, and what they're saying is, we're all franchises or employees or agents of this U.S. corporation or Canadian corporation. We are seen as employees. So it's kind of like they're the work agency. And just like if you go to a work agency and they get you a job, you have to pay back a fee to the work agency, that got you the job. Well, that's exactly how this is, and that's what your income tax is all about. So if you sign up and you work under your Social Security number rather than as a free agent, then you owe back to the government this income tax. It's the whole thing can get quite complicated, but it's definitely worth researching. I'm not going to be able to lay it all out for you in this quick video. So anyway, so Mary Croft, I mean, like I said, she's a firecracker. Read her book. And she doesn't pay for literally anything. She said you can write off your school loan very easily. School loan, don't even need to pay it, because education is a right under the system that they set up. They just don't tell you that. But if you learn it on your own, you can go file the papers and they will not fight you. Same thing, you don't have to pay income tax. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that you can operate as a free agent, because they want your money. They want double your money. They're not going to tell you that you have a prepaid account to pay all your living expenses, which is kind of like your work expenses. When you get to write off your expenses when you take somebody out to lunch or something like that, or your travel expenses. It's exactly like that. That's your prepaid account. They just don't bother telling you about it. So that's huge in itself. But it even gets bigger, which I'm going to have to do another video on, okay? And this regards the free man on the land movement, and this is how we totally cut them off at the knees, and this is how we override this police state that is, you know, seemingly taking over, okay? And it's called Rob Menard, okay, of Robert Menard of the Freeman Society. It's called His Very Cunning Plan, and cunning it is. It is brilliant. Let me explain it on the next vid.